Welcome to The Real Hustle, the podcast where we pull back the curtain on the entrepreneurial journey and we address the fears that people have about getting started with a business. So on this episode, I ask this question. Do you ever find yourself saying, I just don't have the time to do a side hustle, or I can't start a business? I could never do that. We've all been there. And a lot of us have heard that too. But what if we told you that's not really the problem? The time isn't really the real issue. In this episode, we're going to be busting that myth about having no time. And we're going to show you how to build a business or just do a side hustle, wherever you want, with intention, with the time that you already have in your life. We'll give you some reality checks on where your time's going, maybe some ideas on how you can take control of your time and do what you really want to do in life. Because I think it's kind of sad that we have to hold back because we just can't organize that time. So let's get into it. And I'm with my co-host, Melissa, and we have a really special guest, Alina, tonight. How are you guys doing?
Woohoo! Good,
Woo-hoo.
great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Happy
absolutely.
to be here.
Well, we'll get to know these guys as we go a little bit. And I'm going to jump right in and just ask you two, have you guys ever come across that when we're all business owners and entrepreneurs and we help people start businesses too? So have you guys come across that before and hearing that type of a comment?
I've been this person before. I've been this person and I struggle to, I work hard every day to not be this person. But yes, that is probably my number one objection to people joining me on this journey is I don't have time to add one more thing to my plate right now.
Hmm. Yeah.
I love that phrase, Melissa, that you said that you you are that person every day and you work on that. That's exactly what I had in my head when Doug sent me an invite to this podcast of his. And in my head right away, when I saw his message, it was like, I don't have time for that. This is the time when I make dinner for my kids and we all sit down, we have dinner. But the next thought was they haven't seen their grandparents for a while and my husband can take them to see the grandparents. That's what they did.
Oh, that's
I think
awesome.
it's all about just being creative. And again, yeah, for me too, it all starts with myself. Those thoughts of, I don't have time, we can get creative about it.
That's
I
super
love
smart.
that.
That is so smart. I mean, I'm learning from this already. That's good. That's good. Well, let's talk a little bit about our first little topic we want to get into is thinking about a mindset shift, and
Yeah.
thinking about having priorities and just reframing the whole no time thing, and think about how we can think of it a little differently. So we hear it all the time. I don't have time. I don't have time. And we think that, but is it really about time or is it about priorities? Let's talk about priorities and like assessing what is important in our lives and things like that. I mean, Melissa.
So, my biggest personal story is as a pharmacist. Okay, Doug knows I'm stubborn. I swear I got it from my Grammy Walker. But we were going to be told at the hospital that we had to get board certification on top of our degrees. And I was like, nobody's going to tell me to do this. I'm going to do it first. And I found the time over 6 months to get this done, study for it, take the test, do all this stuff. And when I look back on it, I'm like, I don't understand how I found the time to do that, but it was a priority. Not only was it a priority to take the test, it was a priority to pass the test and do well on the test. So it's like, you have to take yourself from a scarcity mindset to an ownership. Okay, this is what I want to do with my time.
I like that because you're almost saying that they put it on you. Like the boss says, hey, you're going to get certified in this. And your first response is, I don't want to do that. But ultimately you do it because the boss, I mean, you ended up
Yeah.
preemptively doing it, but one way or another, you would have done it. And I think that's a good lesson to learn because when we're thinking about starting a business or maybe starting to exercise or adding in learning a new musical instrument or taking ballroom dancing, we'll hear more about Elena and her dancing experience. But no matter what, everything takes time and there's only 24 hours in the day and we all have the same 24 hours. But if the boss says, if you go to work and they're paying you to get something done, you do what they need you to do.
Right.
But somehow when we're on our own, we'll say, oh, I'm too busy, or we don't have the priorities that get us to do what we want to do. We end up just kind of doing like putting out fires in our lives almost. You know what I mean?
I think there is a concept of having the time and not being productive, and then not having the time and being productive, right? Or having little time and doing so much with it and being productive and actually moving forward. So that objection of I don't have time, it's, yeah, usually, even if it comes up in me or in any of my family members and my kids, I usually say, well, let's look at where are you spending your time? So what are you doing? And once we kind of look at that whole picture, then we can start delete this activity, delete that
Yeah,
activity,
love that.
overrule, let's do this instead. And this is a more effective way to do this and that. So also about time, like as a busy mom of three little kids, I look at my schedule and I realize that by the end of the day at nighttime, I have zero mental capacity to even answer to my text messages. Even if they're super important or phone calls or Zoom calls, I'm out. So I try to make sure that I use my morning time to do most important things and most difficult ones, most difficult conversations, most difficult everything. The things that I don't really want to do, I do them in the morning. And then at nighttime, I'm so grateful. Looking back, it's all done
That's
now.
so smart.
Yeah, just taking advantage of that. You have your best energy in the morning too. And
Always.
you just kind of, yeah, you just do it. I've started like exercising before I start working in them because I work from home. So it's really easy to kind of end up always kind of working and like not leaving the house sometimes even. So I've decided just to get up and first thing, just put on my sneakers and boom, I'm getting a drink of water and I'm going out for
Good for you.
a run, walk, whatever I'm going to do. But I'm not going to like eat. I'm not going to have my coffee, any of that stuff. I'm just going to do it. And that's been really helpful for me.
I love that, and I love Alina's tip about when she does her more important work, because that's actually a practical tip I wanted to share. I think it takes us into your topic number 2, but base your schedule. If you're having trouble finding time, base your schedule around your energy.
Yeah.
I'm a morning person, but I'm not like when we do our morning meetings, sometimes I just have to do social media. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm awake, but and use your afternoon and your evenings for clearing out the junk mail out of your email, if or you can do that while you're watching TV because you don't really need to use your brain to clear junk mail. So
Hmm.
try to schedule your day based on when you have energy.
I should have notes on this or something. I know, Melissa, you've been doing the Juice Plus business for about how many years?
October might be 7.
Okay. And Elena, how long have you been in the Juice Plus business?
Actually very close to to how long Melissa's been. 6.5, 7. Yeah.
Okay. And you both were working jobs up to a couple of years ago, or Melissa just this year. So how did that change things? Because some people might say, well, look at these three. They're just doing Juice Plus and like Footloose and Fancy Free. Of course they can fit it into their schedule, but how am I going to start up my whatever business, so how was it different for you guys? For me, it's been 10 years since I worked the normal kind of a job, but you guys, it's still kind of fresh. So how was it different for you? I'll start with Melissa because you're only
Oh,
1
okay.
year out of the regular workplace and you are doing some pharmacy stuff still right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I'm about a year and a half out, and then I did go back. I work part-time. That's been about a year. It's funny, and I had said this to you when I went to go do this full time. I was like, I'm going to make my own laundry detergent and I'm going to clean the cobwebs out of the corner of my dining room.
I remember that.
And meanwhile, I'm like,
You still
I
got
don't have any
cobwebs
time
in the corner of the
I don't
dining
have time
room.
to do anything, because when you have more time and it's not scheduled, you just waste it, especially working at home, because then it's almost like you become back to when we were in COVID and you're like a little hermit and you're like, I don't want to leave
Yeah.
my house. So something that works for me is using a planner. I am still old school. I use a paper planner. I've done several different teachings, coaching through the Juice Plus community, but also separate and with some local friends, of how to block my calendar, and then even really make it visual, different colors, scratch out if I'm doing something for 2 hours, scratch it out so it's no question. But it's very interesting because about this year and a half out, I realized how much of my life was run by having a 9 to 5 schedule.
Yes.
You go to work and somebody tells you what to do, and it's just different getting used to that.
I know. Even though like at my jobs, I kind of was the boss, it's still like you always have another boss above you. Even if you're a CEO, you have the board, right? So it's almost like there's this built-in accountability and built-in time blocks or deadlines and things like that. So it is quite challenging, I find, I mean, it's great because there's time freedom when you have your own business. You get to work from home and all this stuff, but at the same time it's also challenging,
Yeah.
especially I think. And I know Elena has small children. You don't, Melissa, you have grown stepchildren,
Hmm.
I have grown children, but we also do other things. You work in pharmacy, I work some other business ideas that I have. And I don't know, but Alina, how is it different for you not working a regular job and just doing and Juice Plus and managing your time?
Well, I definitely had to invest a lot into self growth over the years in making myself manage my time. But, after being a dancer and teaching other people, my schedule was always scheduled in 45-minute increments, 45-minute lessons. And if Melissa's schedule was 9 to 5, mine was always kind of like 1 to 10. So I was
Mm.
working that time, and obviously did not work with kids. Every time I would come back home, my kid's already in bed. And that was the hardest thing for me. And that's why I decided to make that shift to just be present for my kids. It happened when we moved across the country and we built out a whole new studio here in our house in the basement. I was still in that mindset 6 months after leaving Los Angeles. In the mindset, I'm going to teach lessons here. Of course, I'm going to have wedding couples, I'm going to have kids, I'm going to have adults, I'm going to teach out of my home dance studio. And here I am. The studio is built out. I'm holding my 1 year old at the time, my third one. I'm standing in the middle of that studio, and that was my moment. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. And I am hosting events in that studio, but now these are Juice Plus events. We do a lot of exercising. We do our smoothie events there. We do just a ton of stuff, but it's so great to have space where I can just, host people.
Yeah.
And it's beautifully laid out. But yeah, I think I love this phrase that in life, if we don't volunteer to do something, well, like we feel our mission, our purpose, and if we don't volunteer ourselves to do it, we're going to be dragged through it. We're going to be pulled through it without our wish in any case. So it's better to say yes when you feel like prompted to do it.
Hmm.
And that was my call to just say, okay, no more. And I just decided to do Juice Plus full time. It was hard in terms of I had a lot of fear. I knew what I was doing in dancing. I had no idea what I was doing in Juice Plus. I had customers by this point already. I've done it for a few years, but I had customers mostly from the dance industry who knew me from my dance studio and they trusted me and they've been with me through this journey of pregnancies and they saw how it affected me. So and now here I am, like all by myself in this big open world. Like, how am I going to talk to the strangers who don't know me? So I had to go back to learning how do I build trust with people? And we're in a new place. We're in a new state. I don't know, a soul here. So that's why I decided to create community around me. And that was very important. And I do feel now, 3 years down the road, that I do have that community. And it just feels so good to have that. But it took taking that one step into the
Big
unknown.
step.
It was scary.
I have a question for you. So I think doing the math, you taught dance full time.
Hmm.
You had a family, you had kids, you probably danced yourself and did exercise, and you were also doing Juice Plus. So, like, can you share a little bit how it works for a parent doing this full time? Like, did you do like, hey, I work in stolen moments, I work in the car pickup line, I leave voice messages while I'm commuting? Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Totally, Melissa. Good question. When I was running my studio full time, I did dedicate, I think, 2 hours on Wednesday afternoon to just sit down and work on my computer and actually connect with people and put in some orders, do some education and all that. And to me, back then, it seemed like 2 hours a week. It's a lot. And I'm doing something that am I even qualified to do this? So I had all of these questions in my head. But when I went full time into it, thinking, oh, I'm going to have all this time. I don't teach lessons anymore. I'm going to have all this time to do Juice Plus. No, because I'm the CEO
Same.
of our household, right? And then there's so many other things to do. I'm involved in volunteering at school. I'm running cross country and track for the kids. It's just a ton of different things and driving kids all around the town too. My husband travels a lot, so it's pretty much 90% on me. So I do my work for Juice Plus pretty much at gymnastics training, at skateboard parks, at the beach, at the pool last week. My goodness, I don't know how much I've worked. I've literally been sitting by the pool and kids were
Mm.
swimming and I was making sure they're safe. But I was working. It was so busy, but I was so grateful that I did not have to keep them at home. I actually could take them wherever and they had no idea I was working.
You're kind of
That's
like
awesome.
unpacking some of the strategies we want to recommend. And that is one of them is definitely like we all kind of do this. Well, first of all, the type of business, not all businesses are equal, because Elena, your dance studio had you had to be there from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. So if the kids were in gymnastics class or something, somebody else or you'd have to go drop them off, go back, teach a dance class, then pick them up later and da da da. Whereas choosing a business model that doesn't like restrict
Continue.
you so much, you know what I mean? So like one of the concepts that means a lot to me, and it took me, my goodness, till I was in my 40s to really understand this, that we can actually design our lives. I was a school guy. I worked in the schools and then I worked at the college level and stuff, but it's just, you go to college, you just start a career and you try to work for your pension and you do all the right things, and it's like, but there are these other lifestyles, and you do see those people once in a while that are like, they're playing golf in the middle of the day, or they go to yoga class at 10 a.m. or something, right? Or the best thing I love about our business model that gives us flexibility is that grocery shopping is very different, like in the morning or the middle of the day compared to like 6 p.m. when everybody's off of work. It's amazing.
Amen.
It's so relaxed. So the type of business that you start is really important. Think about that.
Yeah.
The other thing is having priorities in your life. Some people, like, what's really important to you? Because we all have the same 24 hours in a day. But, some people are spending 2 hours a day just scrolling on TikTok. Some people are watching a lot of TV. Some people, I mean, and listen, everything's great, and it's enjoyable. But at the end of the day, you have to think, like, what matters to you? Like, what's more valuable to you? Like watching funny videos on TikTok, or like building something or
And
building,
that's a good tip, doing a time audit. Like
a time
I say,
audit. There
a
you
time
go.
audit, like you don't even realize where you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Are
How do
you
you, I mean, like,
scrolling?
is there a formal way? Because I know you've worked with some coaches and stuff. Is there like a formal way to do the time audit, or do you just like do it on a calendar or what?
I'll tell you
So,
a secret.
yeah, go,
Sorry
please.
for interrupting.
No, I don't have a good way.
And I'm sure you know the secret too.
Well, I'm glad you didn't answer. Go ahead, Alina.
It's called Luminate. I do find it very, very helpful in terms of focus. I think it all comes down to being able to focus and concentrate on particular things for a particular time, particular time period. And really, I'm like Melissa, I'm very old fashioned. I use my paper, calendar and paper, everything, notebooks, and I write everything in. Whatever is not written in is not happening. So
Hmm,
sometimes if I miss some events or I miss some notifications, it's just that have not been written down by me.
that's excellent.
Yeah,
So
and
per
now, so I
pen and
mean, you're
paper.
kind of uncovering another thing that I wanted to make sure we hit on as a tip for people. And one of the ways that I know all three of us use and we call them time blocks. Like doing a block of time where this is when I'm going to work. So a lot of people think, oh, I don't have time to do a business. Or, I mean, we're in the Juice Plus business, so we might invite people to join us in our business and we can mentor them and help them. But some people will say, like, "Oh, I just don't have time to do that." Well, first of all, they don't know how much time it takes to do the Juice Plus business. And their reference of a business might be like my dad, for instance, owned a business and he was gone all the time, you know? But this is
Mm.
a different business model. And what we typically do is like find a few blocks of time where we dedicate it to like, it kind of looks like real work, like sitting at a desk, or maybe you're
Mhm.
on your phone by the pool or something. I don't know. That happens sometimes, but definitely working, communicating with people, creating events, doing whatever we do, putting in orders, that kind of stuff. But then in addition to that, we allow free time. Well, this is what Elena was talking about earlier is fitting it in for the rest of the time, which is, we call it fitting it in stolen moments. That's the time when you're sitting in
Mhm.
the waiting for the kids to get out of school, or you're doing this or doing that, and so you don't have to work your business like 8 hours a day. You do the work that then creates some conversations that you can continue throughout the day.
Well, and I think that goes back to priorities and prioritizing, because one of the tips that I found was something you already do for our team and our business is a Sunday night planning session. 30 minutes. There's an outline, but you don't have to follow the outline, but it helps you see, what did I do the week before? What do I want to do this week coming up? Like, what worked well for me? And having that plan really helps when you are busy, when you are a busy mom, when you do work full time, when your schedule's different. Like, for example, if my nephew is in this business, he's a new graduate nurse, but he works night shift. So those 3 days he's working night shift, nothing would be getting done. But then the next other 4 days, he's up in the daytime. So, like, somebody with schedule changes, if you have the plan, it's easier to use those stolen moments.
Yeah, that's great stuff. And I'm curious for you guys, do you guys think of like your time blocks different than your stolen moments? Like, are you strategic about what you do in a time block versus like leaving things wide open, or how do you approach that?
These days, I'm much more strategic, but it took me a while to get here. It was a learning process. At first, I'd say I was running on a reactive mode.
Mm.
Whatever falls on my lap, I'll do it. I'll do it now. I'll do it later. I'll answer phone calls as they come in. I'll answer text messages right away. Now it's all planned. I have like these 15 minutes in the morning. I answer these particular emails, nighttime. I answer school emails. So
Mm.
I don't that stuff because it all, I think, affects our brain capacity. It's just we get tired by the end of the day if we just spend energy on every little thing, but really concentrating on big blocks of what really matters. Even big blocks, it can be half hour, but you can make a big progress in just half hour. Basically, Doug, like you said, it's intentional. So I'm trying to be very intentional and making those intentional choices. Like when people join my team, the only thing I ask of them at the beginning is 10 minutes a week, not even a day, a week. And I call them deep dive sessions. And week after week, we communicate for 10 minutes. And I set an alarm clock for that too. W- you look after a month or 2 months, we've covered so much. And that's when after that,
That's a great tip.
they get into more, like they start wanting more, and they ask, can we schedule more of those, or can we meet for breakfast and actually spend an hour or two chatting on a particular topic.
Mm,
But if you present that from the very beginning and say, hey, I need 2 hours a week from you, for a lot of people it's going to be like, no way, I can't do.
that's good stuff.
I love that. And you just said something that I love that you said you're intentional with your time and what you're doing, because I have found in the past, I would be the same thing, answering phone calls, answering text messages. I would, post on social media, and you have to engage on social media. And then I'd go back and did anybody comment? And I'm like, I don't need to keep checking this. But being intentional allows your brain to shut off because you still have to rest. It makes you get more done in that time period versus getting a little bit done all day.
The same topic when I talk to my kids and explain that, hey, if you want to accomplish this, if you want to finish this, let's focus on that. And literally, it's just like stay in your lane and only look forward. Like just do what you need to do. Do not get distracted. Do not look in. And that's what I tell myself when I
Love
wake
that.
up in the morning. I love how you guys do the Sunday night call for the week. I do for myself every night. I look at my calendar and I just schedule out the whole next day. Again, if it's not scheduled out, I know that a lot of things will distract me, but otherwise, everything that's scheduled, I'll get to it because it's at particular time and that time exists. So, that's one habit that helps me a lot.
Do you schedule in like workouts and things like that for yourself too?
Yep, absolutely. I'm like you. I start with a workout usually in the morning.
Well, I don't know if you want to say you're like me because I only
I want to
started it this week, like 3 days ago.
I want to remind everybody when she is talking about her schedule and being regimented on her schedule and scheduling it in, and if it's not in, it's not getting done. This is a working mom with a family. So you can do this. You can do this.
Absolutely. And I think there's still, and that's kind of how I wanted to go into our last segment is like, I think some people are still skeptical. They think, well, that's working for you. People tend to, well, from what I found is to find a reason. Like, I know they will say, well, I don't really have time to do that. But I don't know if they've really thought about that. I know we're giving some strategies and such, but what are some tips you guys have about what you would recommend people do to kind of look at what they're doing to see if they could indeed fit something else that's important to them in?
I think one thought to have in mind when people have that kind of objection is for them to imagine what if this wasn't something that was taking time away from them? What if that's something that would give them the time? That's exactly what
Nailed
happened
it.
in my life.
Yeah.
Like I thought I could not do Juice Plus just and run the studio because I just didn't have time for that. And but then you realize that right now I've given myself so much time to do things that I love. Travel, signing up kids for so many different activities that they love doing. And actually, I am the present mom that drives kids to the activities. Sometimes I watch the activities, sometimes not. But, 3 kids, you can't sometimes be in 3 different places at the same time. But I'm doing the things that fulfill me and make me so happy. And it just all comes down to realizing what can you do now that's going to
Hmm.
give you more time, maybe more energy a little bit down the road.
So you just tackled all three objections that I wanted to make sure we talked about in like one statement. That was amazing. That was amazing.
Well, Melissa, I can read your mind too, right? Don't forget that.
Well, I think Melissa's reading my mind or something because she took me way off of my what I had.
Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. But I mean,
Boo.
it's just flowing. It's flowing. It's good. So I think as we kind of land the plane talking about time management and this and that. Oh gosh, so we have some ideas of what analyze. I want to go back to also reminding everybody what Melissa said because I think it's really important because I just asked the question, what can people do if they're still skeptical? And that is the audit of your time. Because I think a lot of people are wasting a lot of time. Okay. So, and it doesn't have to be about just having a business. It could be like you don't find time to cook healthy meals. It could be that you don't find time to exercise. It could be that you don't find time to like spend quality time with your kids or something. I also find that some people, this is where we talked a little bit earlier about kind of analyzing, what you do with your time. Also, I want to encourage people, and this is a delicate subject, but just be careful about like overcommitting certain amount of time to certain things. And one of the things that comes up in my mind, and trust me, I've been there as like a parent of like I had an elite golfer daughter, so I understand how it is of like practicing and going to games and doing all this stuff. But I also understand the difference where some people have like kids playing in a sports league, but then they sign them up for like the most demanding sports league. And they're like literally like 5 years old or
Yeah.
maybe even 10 years old. But why do we need to travel all around the country? Why do we need to spend 5 grand to be on this team? Why do we need to have practice 6 nights a week? You can still have the experience and there's not necessarily a correlation between that level of youth athletics and like collegiate athletics. It's like
Mm,
talent is talent. I hate to tell everybody. So
yeah.
just be careful of that, because I think nowadays parents get into a little bit of guilt as well. They feel like if they're not keeping up with the Joneses on scheduling this and scheduling that. I mean, I'm looking at you, Elena, and I just know like dance moms. I mean, that's a classic example, because those dance moms can be like really intense. They can't do anything else in their life because it's all about the dance. And it can be really, it can take people off track. You're a person, you get to get what you want in your life, and you can still be a great parent. It doesn't make you
Right.
a bad parent to do any of that.
Right. If you want, I had a couple other tips for
Yeah.
helping people figure out like some things you can do tonight to sort of figure out, do you have time? Where can you find the time? Am I not prioritizing my time? So we talked about a time audit. Having your phone set up that, if I'm in car pickup line, if I'm in, at a soccer game, if I'm in travel soccer and I'm there forever, well, don't sit there and read a nonfiction if you're trying to do something more with your time. Have everything ready on your phone. Have a couple of message templates, personalize them if you're trying to make relationships in a business, but having a couple templates that you can send out is helpful. And try leaving voice messages. They're more heartfelt, and it's something you can also do while you're on the run. So you're on,
Mm.
but they don't know you're on the run. They just know you're building relationships. I mean, we already talked about weekly planning. So like what we do is direct sales, and it's so adaptive. It's adaptable, and you don't need to overhaul your whole life to have a side hustle, to have a second stream of income. None of us would be doing that. All three of us sitting here had full-time jobs
And it
and
it
started
really is
this
a
at
great
that
business
time.
model, because in addition, because when you have a side hustle, let's say you're making, you know, you're making sourdough bread and selling the loaves to people in your neighborhood. There's only so much time, especially if you're doing it on the side and a part-time thing and wanting to be flexible and all that. Think about what it takes. You have to like mix this dough, and you have to like spend hours working on it, and then you have to bake it very precisely. And it's all on you. If you're not making bread, you're not making any money. So one thing that I really feel very strongly about, and something that one of the reasons why I ended up quitting my job in the education field to work full time in the Juice Plus company, is because I'm able to leverage my time. And I think that's a huge concept, because as you build a team of people in this business model, not only are you making the money that you would make off of things, but you make a small percentage off of a lot of people. And I've heard it said before, I'd rather make 1% off 100 people than 100% off of one person, you know? So
I
that's a
love it.
really an important concept for everybody to have. Well, you guys, thank you so much. I want to kind of summarize what we talked about. We talked about having priorities in your time, and that time, there's only 24 hours for everybody. So if you're struggling with time, you gotta work on it. Okay. I hate to tell you, it's a skill, and you can learn the skill thinking about your priorities first. And then if you're starting a business, the business model matters. Okay. We didn't even get into talking about a pizza
Mhm.
place, or what if I were to open up a Chick-fil-A or something. I mean, you're married to that place. You never leave. And Elena is probably thinking, oh yeah, I've been there. She had a dance studio. I mean,
Oh,
in addition to working all the classes, she's got to clean it. She's got to blah, blah, blah. She got to pay the bills, the insurance, all that stuff. Of course, we're biased. We love our business model with the Juice Plus company, and we always invite you to join us. But there's a lot of other businesses that give you that good business model where you can have residual income. Focused work and working in stolen moments. That's really important. And we kind of like talked about time blocking and all that. And then finally I'll end up with consistency, and just like it's not about working massive hours at anything. It's about consistently touching your business and moving it forward. So I want to encourage you to think of that, especially those of you that are watching this that are already in a business model like ours. You just got to keep consistent with it and really, really keep it going. Any final thoughts or wisdom from you two?
Man, you are reading my mind with those. The only last tip I would give that's on top of being consistent. If you can't get a ton of work done that day, get the basics done. Call
Ah,
one person, follow up with one person, do one social media post. And if I'm going to touch on social media, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it.
What you just described, Melissa, I call it my daily minimum. Sometimes if I feel exhausted or so many other events unrelated to my business, I'm still sticking to my daily minimum because that's just, it becomes a habit. Over time,
Yeah.
you feel like you need to do that. And I just want to finish up on my part here is that when you commit to so many things, I get into the mode of overwhelm. And if I get overwhelmed, nothing happens. So that's why I always encourage all my team members to take one step at a time. Just bless one family at a time, whether it's one family
Mm,
a day, one family a week. Think about it that way. And then looking back, you'll see so many blessings behind you.
I love that. I'm
it
sorry.
is excellent.
That's so cute. I love it. I'm getting so many tips for building a team.
I know. Well, thanks for coming on, Elena. And
Thank
if
you
you
so much for
guys
having
liked what you're hearing, please like, follow, subscribe, whether you're hearing this on audio or on video. We try and bring you topics that are going to be timely and answer questions you might have about building a business, any kind of business, and we're going to even diversify eventually and bring in some people from other business models and whatnot. And we like to have a lot of fun. So please leave us a comment as well of stuff you'd like to hear. And again, thanks, Elena, for
Thank
coming on.
you.
And Melissa, as always,
Thank
Thank you.
you too.
thank you much. All right. Hey, everybody, you have a great night. See you next time.
Bye.
The Real Hustle: Smart Strategies for Income, Life, and Business.